Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of JKL Media Reviews, where we are discussing The Expanse. We are on season 2, episode 6,
Eight. Eight.
8. Wow, we're getting up there. Pyre. It
Husband's
is the,
funeral.
yeah, it is the 18th episode overall, and it aired on March 15th, 2017. Getting close to present day. Although that's 10 years ago.
Almost. Yeah,
9 years ago. Wow, that's crazy.
it is.
It was an interesting episode, and I'm ready to discuss it with my two wonderful co-hosts, Jesse. Hi, Jesse.
Hello, Karen, and happy birthday week.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
Yes.
And my other co-host, Lou.
Hello, everyone, and many more, Karen.
Oh, thank you. I hope so. Celebrating a birthday is weird when you're this old, but it's better than not
Yeah.
celebrating a birthday. That's what I always say.
Yep.
And I had a great one this year.
Good.
So we're going to discuss Pyre. I want to go around and get your thoughts. Jesse, how about you?
I enjoyed it, but it feels like a transition episode again, and it feels like we've gotten a lot of those over the past few weeks. Now, there was a 2 week gap between watching the previous one and this one, but I liked it a lot. And no Earth, which means we get no,
Yes.
but except for that, it was a good episode.
Yeah, all Tycho all the
Yeah.
time, essentially, this time.
Yes, it was. Yes.
I would say this episode was a little unsettling for me. A little one of those, I'm on edge waiting for the next thing to happen.
Yeah.
So, how about you, Lou?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. This is the episode that's setting up the other shoe to drop, and it'll be interesting to see how you both react to where we're going to go with the show in the next couple episodes. And I'm also wondering, Karen, if this is episode increased your admiration for Drummer.
Yes, I already loved Drummer. And there's still that part of me that's okay, you said you loved Holden, Naomi, but don't you have feelings for Drummer too? Part of me is really into that. But I'm guessing we're not going to get that. I do like her and Holden together, so that's fine. But I really like Drummer. I will say in my little preamble here, Amos, man, he's a divisive character for me.
He
This
is
episode,
so odd.
Yeah.
yeah, this episode did not endear me to him any more
Hmm.
than usual. But I'm guessing that's the point at this juncture. I want to talk about that. Can we discuss Amos and Alex for a minute? I am wondering if Amos had that brain thing done by what's his name?
Cortizone,
Cortazar?
cortisone, cortisone.
Cortisol. Yeah. I think it's Cortazar, right?
Yeah.
But then part of me says no, because he's angry, and I would assume that he wouldn't have that anger if he had that procedure done. But there's definitely something going on with him. He looked up someone in Baltimore, which is where he's from, right? And I am wondering what the heck is going on with him and his interactions with Alex. I thought they were bonding a little bit, even though Alex was mad at him at the last point we saw them together. I just thought maybe they had started having a tiny bromance going on. Like nudge, nudge, we talk to each other. We're both single guys in the bar and that kind of thing. So let me get your thoughts on Amos. I think I'm going to go with Jesse first all the time through this since you've already seen it, Lou.
Sure.
And I want to get his
I won't take it
thoughts
personal.
and then have you build it's saving the best for last, dude.
Oh,
How
I
about
okay.
was
that?
about to make that same
Nice,
joke,
nice
the
save.
best for last. Yes.
Yeah. So Jesse,
So,
let's talk to you about Amos.
yeah, so I don't know if I'm being clouded by, if you'll, Your Honor, if you'll excuse, you give me a little leeway, I will get there in the end. I often find myself behind the curve in reading books, and just picked up on my Kindle The Maid, which was a
Mm,
book that was out several years ago that was critically acclaimed. I think A Good Morning America, and the main character she's on the spectrum.
Yep.
And I'm about a third way through the book and loving the book, but it feels like Amos is just a touch on the spectrum.
Yeah,
Um,
and I feel like he's leaning towards sociopath almost. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
yeah,
Sociopaths don't have feelings, like very, they're detached. So
yeah,
on the spectrum, yes, I think that's probably the case, but he's got leanings towards being sociopathic.
yeah,
Okay,
and
sorry for
it
interrupting.
no, and it is, and he's so odd. Like I hope that doesn't happen because then who's going to steer the ship? Like this okay. Just like this random, it's almost like it's a joke, like, oh no, don't go get yourself killed because oh, the paperwork I have to fill out. And then at the end when he goes where I understand you're looking for your daughter, you're not a passenger, you're not a guest, you're a guide. Like,
Mm,
what? But then to sit there and just go, oh, but I hope you find your daughter. He's just
right,
odd.
right. It's a good motivation, he says.
Yeah, and
And the shot he takes at Alex about his family too. So
I just really did think that I keep wanting these two guys to have a bond, not a romantic bond, but just
sure.
a friendship bond. Like I give you crap, you give me crap, but I have your back, and don't tell him that I really admire him or anything. And instead, it's just very strange. And I do like your thought of did he have something done to his, did he have a procedure or something that made him change? Yeah,
Right.
he continues to be Jane on this ship.
Mm,
That's a very yeah,
Shout out to the animated
announcement.
Firefly that we're going to get hopefully.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
can't wait.
but yeah, it is there. It's an interesting dynamic, and he's an interesting character, and I'm
Right.
very happy that he's here. I think that's very cool. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. He's interesting to say the least. And I have gotten a fondness for him. But in this episode, I was like, what is your deal, dude? You seem to be turning a corner and now you're back to square one. He was okay with following Naomi. He's just, I don't feel like helping you right now.
Yeah.
That's not what you do on a ship, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Lou, let's go to you now.
I like the Jane comparison. I think that's quite apt. I don't really want to say too much here because later on, when in the series, when we get to a certain point with his character, I'll address some of the things that you guys are talking about here. But I have great hesitation to say too much
Okay.
here because there's an execution problem here that I need, uh, I want to talk about, but I can't do it without spoiling the arc of the character.
Okay.
The only thing I'll say is that the conversation that Alex has with Amos before Amos threatens to throw him over the railing, I think that if you listen to that conversation again, it's a deliberate, total misread by Alex about Amos's character, and
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
Can you give me a little more hint?
It has to do with that picture that he was looking at.
Okay.
Of his
Okay.
family, like his ex-wife and all that. Is that
Can't
Alex's?
can't say.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin it.
Okay.
No
And it's
problem.
that good that you don't want to spoil it?
It's not that it's that good. It's just how that it's being presented is part of the issue.
So
Okay.
one other thing, Your Honor. Are we cold or hot on our thoughts?
Can you summarize it for me again? I'm not sure exactly what part of
So
it, your
we're
thoughts you're.
saying I say he's either part of the spectrum
Oh,
and Karen thinks possibly that he's had some kind of procedure done like the guy talked about doing where you could forget everything.
Are we going to get more information about what his temperament is about?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll address that.
Uh,
I'll address this point that you're raising.
In a later time?
Yeah, by the time we get to it, that will be made clear to you, so I don't really have to answer it.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Very nice.
Soon or not so soon?
It's gonna be a while.
Okay.
Oh,
Very good.
all right. I'll deal. I'm hoping I'll continue to like him as we go along.
Yeah, I don't dislike him. I'm just like, you're
Same.
an odd duck. That's
I would
Yeah.
bristle if he was one of my coworkers, though. If
yeah.
one of my coworkers said I don't feel like it, I would be like, I don't care if you don't feel like it. That's your job. So yeah, I had my backup. Speaking as a manager of people,
Yeah,
the
Well,
part of me just went bristle.
he's very low on the empathy scale. Let's put it that way.
That is no kidding.
For a
yeah.
reason.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Good. Okay.
Got that.
Good.
All
Yay.
right. I want to talk about Dr. Ming. I guess his name is
Yep.
Prax. Is that his
Yeah.
name?
Cracks a deck.
Okay.
Ming the Merciless.
Ning the Merciless. He doesn't seem very merciless.
No.
I liked him in this episode. I feel like his story is tragic right now, although we did get a little hope that maybe his daughter is still alive at the end. He was on Ganymede, and it's good to get the other side of that story. We got the kind of the military side of it, and now we're getting the human side of it with what happened to the regular people on Ganymede. They did not have the same experience. They suffered great personal losses. And I'm not saying Bobby didn't. Bobby did suffer great losses there. But this is like a family loss. He thinks that his daughter's dead. I'm assuming that a lot of people lost their loved ones in this attack.
Feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're displaced from their homes. They all had this mission to I guess develop Ganymede as some place that people could farm, live, and that was now taken away from them. So I feel like he's a very complex character, even though we didn't get a lot from him. He doesn't want to be locked in his room. Of course not. And then on top of feeling, or on top of having the impression that he's lost his daughter, his friend, who obviously has romantic feelings for him, is spaced right in front of him. And I had a bit of a wonder of why did that dude take him away? How did that guy know what side Prax was on? But on how did he know that chick was from Mars? But that's a hand wave moment for me. So we see that he does have a lot of morality. He's standing up for something, even though he's ineffective. He tries to report them for a crime. And then he falls in with the Rossi. And I feel like he would be a good addition to them. I also screamed at Naomi right on the screen when she opened up that container because what if it was the protomolecule? She just opened it up and it was a soybean sprout. Good for her, but I was like, don't, why are you opening that? So let's talk about Prax. How about you, Jesse?
I had a bad feeling when they started separating the people.
Mm.
Don't know why, just this doesn't feel good. This and maybe because we had just watched a couple weeks ago Nuremberg, and then when it happened, and it was so well done as is a visual. The
Mm.
idea of he at the last minute, we're going to be competing for the same job. And he's it isn't that he's ready to give up mourning his daughter, but he also is practical enough that maybe I have to move forward. And
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 maybe
then
continue my mission, right?
yeah, and then to say, hey, And then when the gravity goes off, right, and they're touching hands, and all of a sudden he can tell what's happening. It's just horrible to
Heartbreaking.
see that. Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking. And he plays it very well. I love the fact that he like, okay, I'm gonna immediately try to report it, and he knows nothing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So I think he's an interesting character. He looks familiar, the actor, but I was just looking at IMDb. There's nothing I guess Almost Famous. He played a journalist
Okay.
and was in House of Cards. So he's one of those guys. I see also he's been in Jessica Jones. He has
Mm.
been in a lot of different things, just nothing that stood out. But I
He's
think he,
one of those guys, quote unquote,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm glad to see him. And I do think he'll be an interesting. I always love when someone new joins the Rossi, even though we haven't gotten that as much, and watching their interaction with the crew.
Yeah. I'm a little gun shy because I was hoping that Miller would join the crew
Yeah.
and whoops, that didn't happen. Goes, he's on a mission to find his dog.
I don't know if it's just me, but Karen's breaking up for me.
Yeah, you did break up a little bit, Karen. Say that again.
And
I was hoping that Miller would join the crew, but that didn't happen. Whoops. I I want someone else to join the crew. I think he would be a good addition. We'll see how that goes.
Nice. Okay.
yeah, Dr. Meng I think the actor is doing a fantastic job with the character. He's playing an everyman. He's just a family guy. He's just interested he's a botanist, so he's just interested in plants. And on Earth, he would probably, and I'm not stereotyping, I hope, or anything, but he'd probably be like a rice farmer or something like that out in the rice paddies on Earth. And here, because he was born on Ganymede, he's come into the same line of work, but through the conditions of the environment. So he had to become a botanist, and now he's out tending his field. And he has a daughter. We don't know where the mother is. We don't know if she's alive or dead, but he seems like a very quote unquote down to earth person,
Yeah.
even though he's never been to Earth
Mm-hmm.
in his life, literally. He's the face of the innocent bystander, I guess you could say, in these types of conflicts. And
Yeah.
these are the faceless people that are treated poorly. They're casualties of war that nobody knows about because they're just in the scheme of the conflict, they're just not, they're just collateral damage. So he's the face of the victim in these types of conflicts. And I think that he does a really good job of making you care for him in the short time that he's been on the show. He's obviously a person with some sort of moral code. He's trying to report what happened on the ship, but he's out of his element. He doesn't know any of the specifics of what happened, who the ship was, and except for the one person that he knew, he doesn't know any of the other victims.
Yeah.
He's and he's just lost it. He thinks he's just lost his daughter. So he's just totally unmoored. And I think that was really wonderfully highlighted by the moment when Naomi opened his canister, and it's like a setup for, oh, it's going to be some frozen protomolecule or something, and then instead it's just a plant. It just really shows his character in that moment more than anything. I think he's
Yeah.
just through everything he's gone through, he's hanging on to this one plant. So I just thought that was a beautiful moment. And then he's
Yeah.
such a contrast to Amos, right? So
Yeah. And
Mm.
to
Yep.
to jump in there, right, Lou? I like the scene where they're all laying on the floor and everything. And he has this, and you're thinking, oh, it's a water bottle. And no, it's not.
Mm.
So it's something I think that does say a lot about him that he's hanging on to that, like for almost for hope, right? For the
mm,
future. One of the
Yep.
things we talk about, right, is sitting under the shade of a tree the previous generation planted. So he is thinking about the future.
Hmm.
Yeah. Were you alarmed when Naomi opened up that canister, Jesse?
No, I wasn't. I just assumed it. I didn't. I was thinking it might be protomatter in a tube that's sealed. So
Okay.
I wasn't worried that it was like it isn't radiation that's going to leak. I assumed even if it was protomatter, it was in something sealed. But by
Okay.
seeing that made me, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very sweet.
he's a very down to earth character, and his focus is on such a different, like his existence is on such a different level from what Miller and Naomi and everybody else is. They're all into this, all this intrigue and that, and he's just a dude. He's just a farmer, basically.
Yeah.
And then I like his interplay with Amos too. When you like Karen, as you mentioned, that Amos says, "No, you're just a guide." But then Amos says, "But so you're going to search for your daughter?" And he said, "Yes." And he says, "That's a good reason." So there's sort of a connection there between the two characters. They can relate on that level. So I think one of the good things that you do in drama is you bring characters of opposite spectrums together. And I think bringing Ming into the show is a nice contrast to Amos. And I look forward to their interplay going forward.
Cool. I feel like in this episode, we do get like little hints about like family issues. Amos bringing up Alex's family, Amos looking up someone from Baltimore and looking for his kid. I feel like that's that kind of parallel thing that shows do.
Yeah. And
Try and
then
put something in your head.
Yeah, and then to further accentuate the or accent the refugee situation, like the callousness with which that farmer just ejects the earthers because they're earthers. They had nothing to do with the attack, so they're innocent bystanders. And that woman that
Doris,
uh, was it Doris? Was that her name? I
the
thought
girl
she,
that is in love with
yeah,
Prax.
yeah, like
Yeah.
she's obviously recognizing that this guy has value, and
Yeah.
she's like you said, she's probably in love with him. That's a bit to what you can read into that, but she definitely has affection for him and is willing to start a life with him. But how they know each other is a very small part of the episode, but it does build that kind of bond again between them. And her, like Jesse commented on the visuals of when they're spaced, like her especially, she looked like a fish trying to breathe out of water, right? And it was just, yeah, it was just a poignant moment and very underplayed. They don't go overboard with it. It just happens. And I just thought that was a beautifully done relationship between those two characters in that short amount of time that they had.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
does impact you when she is spaced, which is saying a lot that we don't really know her. And I was still really sad that she
Yeah.
got
Yes.
spaced.
Yep.
One of the things I was going to mention is how cinematic this episode felt. There were a lot of like big moments in this episode that they showed you a lot of expansive, to use the word
Yeah.
of the show. I don't know if it
Excellent.
felt the same, but we see space, we see them floating in space, and it slowly drifts back to Tycho. I really felt like there was big moments in this, even though the episode is unsettling, it still felt really cinematic to me. Is that
Definitely. Yep. I agree.
cool?
Yep.
Cool. Let's talk about, I'm vacillating on whether to talk about the bad guys or the good guys.
And on this show, sometimes
They're the
There's
same.
there's some
they're
gray.
both. Yes.
There's some
Yes.
Yeah.
gray.
Let's talk about the OPA dudes. That's Staz is the main dude who's like that cute lumberjacky kind of guy, although he's a dick in this show. Uh, I'm thinking to myself, I really want to side with the OPA because they have a genuine beef with Mars and Earth that they've been pushed down. You want to root for them, but you just can't because of the extreme measures they take to do things and wanting the nuclear missiles to use against Earth and Mars. I'm reading into Earth and Mars. I'm assuming that they don't really care who they strike. It's just they want it to be a symbolic gesture to get across the fact that they're not pushovers. and that they deserve to be equal to everyone. We also get Anderson Dawes talking about that they're willing to cut off their water supply and things like that, and they just want to be equal. And I get that. I want to think that they're the good guys, even though they're the bad guys. And they're not falling into that stereotype for me. They're the underdogs that have to fight for what they deserve, but man, they are evil. And Stas is just the worst. Shooting drummer, having his guys shoot other people. I loved how Fred interacted with him when he says, I'll take out someone else. And Fred's, I've lost people. I've killed people. That doesn't affect me any. You might as well just kill me. I'm not going to help you. And I feel like Drummer is the same way, that she's not going to give them the codes. Their lives aren't worth that amount of chaos that the OPA can wreak upon other people. And we also have Diogo, who, I wanted to like the kid, but now he's fallen in with that extremist group. What do you think, Jesse? How do you feel about the OPA?
I'm reminded a little bit, and this is really before our time, the IRA, fighting for Irish
Yeah.
independence.
What a great parallel.
And like I can in what I picked up from old movies and in historical fiction, but the idea, right, that they're fighting for independence, and whatever no cost is too high for independence. And when you look at it, that they literally have to rely on an outside source for air and water.
Yep.
We have not discussed this as much since the earlier episodes in the first season, right? But that water can be scarce at being off world or at different moons or space stations. So the idea of that, how can I be grateful to someone that has in their power, with the flick of a switch or a move, can just actually take away my life? But from our perspective, they're the bad guys, right? They are hurting our people, the people that we care about. And I always say, I'm not unique in this, going back, and now we're really mixing metaphors. Dr. X and Magneto, Martin Luther King and
Yeah.
Malcolm X, right? The idea of people fighting for it. And it's easy for us to say, oh, you need to fight the right way and you need to do the just way. But if I was under the gun the way they are, who knows how I would act. So I think it's an interesting, it was an interesting storyline. And jumping ahead, when Fred is threatening the Rossi, he's telling Holden, look, you won't be welcome back here again. You won't get fuel. You won't get free food. You won't get repairs. And Holden, who knows if you're going to be in charge next time, which was waiting for a shoe to drop.
Yeah, because the OPA is like super volatile right now.
Yeah. And so I love that storyline. And then jumping ahead again, because I can't wait to hear, I love Fred wants them to check on Drummer first. And then she's good. And she is, doesn't matter how bad she is, she has enough awareness to grab somebody's gun and boom.
Yep.
Okay, jury. I'm judge, jury, and executioner. That was so in character for her. And I went, God, what a badass. I'm not saying it's the
Yeah.
right thing, but just
Same.
like in this very violent world, once you can't trust someone, you can't trust someone. Can I answer your question?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
She is the definition of BAMF, right? Badass mother effer.
Yeah.
I loved that she shot the guys as she was walking out. I mean, right now they have no redeeming qualities. They're willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And man, comparison to the IRA is just perfect. They were fighting for their freedom and their freedom of religion, and they took it way too far. In the end, it kind of worked, which
Yeah.
it's so difficult for me to reconcile that in my head. Essentially terrorists, and they have a just cause. And I felt that way about Magneto too. I could
Hmm.
see his side and I understand what he was fighting for. And this is the same way for me. There is a faction of the OPA we know that isn't willing to do those things, but they're not getting anywhere either. Yeah, that I'm so torn about
Hmm.
that. Those guys are evil. Let's get that out of the way. I'm not feeling any kind of love for them, but I do understand their cause and why they feel that way. Let's go to you, Lou.
Yeah, this was a very complex part of the episode, and to a certain degree, it's left for you to interpret how you thought about it. And I think your and Jesse's feelings are in line with exactly that kind of result, because I'm looking at it from several aspects as well. You've touched upon the OPA guys, like they're lower level, mid-level kind of guys. So you've got the Daws and the Johnsons and whatnot, but there's this mob mentality that I think these characters are meant to represent. They don't really have a long-term plan. They're just like they just want to strike back in the moment and damn the consequences. They don't really they're not thinking, they're just acting emotionally. So they're representative of a lot of times of mob mentality, I guess you could say. And so that was interesting from that aspect. The other fascinating part for me is Fred Johnson's plans, keeping some of the missiles, hiding the scientists. Like he's playing these as levers to use for future things, but it's all come undone for him because he's presenting himself one way to the people, yet he's doing all these clandestine things at the same time. And Dawes calls him on that, and so he's lost the whatever advantage the missiles have given him, and now he's lost the scientist Kotiar. It's quite fascinating from a Fred Johnson perspective as well. Now Dawes thinks he's on a righteous path, but he's is he not just really replicating the same thing that Johnson was doing? So it's a very fascinating part of the episode. And then you've got different levels of players. Like you had the mob, the OPA guys that, and then you've got drummer who is OPA, that's Fred Johnson, but they're the more they represent the upper management thing. And while she might not be as she's been between the rabble and the Dawes and the Johnsons, so she can see she has the discipline to not strike out immediately. She waits to find out what her leaders are thinking. But at the same time, when the situation calls for it, she's not afraid to pull the trigger. And literally, and she does that. And she's a very interesting character because Naomi says, "What do you think he's going to do with the kid?" And he says, "He should be space, that stupid kid." He says, "No, I didn't ask what you would do. I asked what he's going to do."
Yeah.
That was a bit of foreshadowing as far as I was concerned, that she was going to end up killing those guys. So yeah, just a really fascinating part of the episode. A lot of character complexities attached to political motivations or power play motivations. That kind of stuff doesn't normally interest me that much, but it's when it's tied to the characters as well as it is here, then I do quite enjoy it. And I can turn this piece of the part of the episode in my head over quite a few different ways and ponder the implications of what all these results are going to be. Holden's telling Johnson that you've lost your power base now because nobody's going to trust you anymore. That's an interesting call. We'll have to see how that plays out. And then you've got Drummer. If Johnson's going to drop out of power, what's she going to do? She seems very loyal to him. Don't think it's really been established clearly why she is that loyal to him, but she is. It has something to do with that bar visit that her and Dawes went, where Johnson was
Hmm,
pretty well ready to kill himself from the sounds of
Yeah.
it. So I don't know exactly what
right.
we don't know exactly what transpired between them that's inspired that much loyalty in her. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So yeah, just a really fascinating part of the episode, and with quite a dramatic ending to it with Drummer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there you have to realize that Johnson and Drummer have never been under the thumb of Earth, right? They were quote unquote working for Earth. They are not going to have their water and air taken away from them. So they don't have that urgency that the OPA from the belt, from Ceres, from Eros, they don't have that pressure on them that would maybe burst at some point and make them into these extremists. So there's a part of me that's okay, I get it, why
Yeah.
they're not quite as Go ahead, Jesse.
No, I was going to let you finish. I agree because what you're seeing here is that the haves and the have-nots. And it
Mm-hmm.
goes back to that we get this a lot. I'm going to put it in modern day, right? I am seeing people on social media saying this latest, the new Bruce Springsteen tour, Take a Drink, is happening, and he has said it's going to be political. And if he loses part of his audience, he doesn't care. He thinks it's more important to speak out. And there are people that are saying, I just want to hear music. I'm going just to hear the music. But you realize that there is something going on here that he's going to speak out of, and this is something he's always speaked out about. Trying to do a, we should be trying to negotiate with Earth and Mars. And the other is like, F that. What we should do is do what needs to be done and take it. Power isn't something you're given, it's something you take, to quote Jock Ewing. And I think that's just I don't know what the right answer is. I know what my answer is sitting here where I have plenty of water to drink and plenty of air to drink, but
Right?
you could see other people going, no, you can't do that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I can put myself in a different place right now if we're talking about real life. Women's rights have been trampled on over the last couple of years. And if I were younger, I would really be in there protesting, making a fuss. I can't do that now because I have MS. I can't really throw in, and I feel like I'm not as affected, which is terrible. I'm old enough that it's not gonna touch me. And I hate to feel that way because that is something I've fought against.
Yeah,
And the whole time that I've known Springsteen's character, I get that he's very dedicated to speaking out, having a platform.
yeah.
And I think a lot of us right now in real life feel like we're powerless. And part of me is like, man, I wish I could just stand up on a soapbox and say what I want to say because right now our voices aren't being heard. We're being squashed
Yeah.
down. I hate to get on this
Well,
subject.
and it is hard not to because this show is very
Mhm.
political, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's hard not to draw
Yeah,
similarities. So I feel like I'm maybe in the same category as like Drummer or Fred, where it's not touching me so much. So I'm willing to kind of wait it out. But it is really affecting this splinter group of the OPA. And they're just doing what they feel like they have to do. And I have to shrug and say, man, I do feel for them, but I can't condone what they're doing.
yeah,
So I'm guessing you two are on similar wavelengths.
Yep,
yes,
yep,
Um,
for sure. I'm also can't help but wonder, putting it in today's context with what's going on in Iran. You've
mm,
got this insider technician guy in the bridge helping out the OPA guys, and I can't help but wondering like what kind of back channel stuff is going on right now between like the US and Israel and Saudi Arabia. There's so many levels to this, and then you've got like this thing where Trump made the announcement about, oh, he wasn't going to put troops on the ground, and then all of a sudden somebody sold a whole bunch of oil stock and bought some other things. So there's this insider trading stuff, and so this again, this small little piece of this insider on the bridge, I think just echoes quite large with what's going on in real world events today, and has
Yep.
been in the past and will be in the future, because that's just the nature of human relationships and dynamics in these
Yeah.
power situations.
To put it lightly, it's infuriating what's happening
Yeah.
in the world today. And I love that your cup, because you have a green screen, Lou, I love that your cup is see-through. It's very cool. Side note, you guys, he has the backdrop of Julie Mao flying out in outer space from the
With the
Expanse
Expanse
season
logo. Yeah.
1.
Yep.
Yep. And when he raises his cup, it's up against the planet, which matches the color of his cup, and it's very cool.
Yeah, but it's
It's a little
greenish.
behind the scenes.
It's greenish in the middle.
Oh,
So it, yeah.
so there you go. Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Unintentional. Sorry about
Okay,
that.
no, it's great. It's just, I was like, what? That's very cool. So I guess we have a couple of little things at the end, but I do want to talk about Holden and Naomi here. They profess their love to each other, which I think is very cool, but she's going to be the check to his balance, to put it in a weird way.
And she's
She,
holding on to a secret.
yeah, this is what I was going to bring up. I'm so mad at her right now. I still like her, but I don't understand her motivation behind this. I feel like it's almost a parallel to this Splinter OPA group where she has something really powerful and she could do a lot of damage with it. So we don't know what's going on there in her mind, that Holden thinks the protomolecule was destroyed and it's not. She knows where it is. And when he says no more secrets between us, and this is one of those tropey things again where someone is holding a secret from someone who has just professed no more secrets, and it's a secret that not only would ruin their relationship, but I think it would betray a lot more people than just Holden. Just quickly, let's talk about Holden and Naomi and what the implications of that secret are. Jesse.
So I do love that they said they loved each other. I did love that she
Mr.
said,
Hallmark movie guy.
yes, exactly.
Hmm.
I like that they called out that you're not acting like the Holden I love. And I was waiting for the, oh, you love me?
Yeah.
And I guess it's a better show for not doing that, but I wanted that. There, I'm watching the second season of Paradise, and there's a scene
Yeah, me
that's a
too.
flashback where she goes, "Look, I've got Xavier's wife in this flashback. They have just met." And
Mhm.
she's, "I'm not getting distracted by the hot guy in the ho hotel, the bed next to me." And he
Yeah.
starts up, hot guy, like you knew that was
Hmm.
going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
just the cliche, but it works. And
And the follow-up to that is that's what you took from that?
yeah, exactly. So I was very happy to see this, and I like them as a couple. I worry about them as a couple because there
And well, you
are
should.
things that they're not
Uh-oh.
telling each other, and that is never good.
Nope.
And I don't know. So this you give us foreshadowing, Lou? You break my, you won't tell us what anything, but you break our heart like, yeah. Look, you
Well,
shippers, you should worry.
I think it's obvious though. Like I'm not,
Yeah.
did I
Yeah, it
surprise you
is.
with that statement?
No, it just, I want to
No.
have hope in my heart that they're going to
Yeah.
be okay. Yeah, it just, I love them as a couple, and this is going to be very cool. I like where they're going, and it is worrisome. Okay, what are they planning to do? So we'll see.
Yeah. And so far, Naomi's the only one that exists, right? She hasn't told anyone else?
Right.
Or has she told Drummer?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
She hasn't told anybody else yet.
So I'm guessing it's weighing on her to have that secret, but I feel like I want to know her motivation for it because I feel like part of her needs to know that she has not done something good
Yeah.
because she doesn't really have a plan for it. And she knows not telling Holden is also not good.
Yep.
And I'm really wondering what's going through her mind because I want to really love her. And again, there's part of her that I just don't get. Is it that OPA background? Is she trying to do something? So that's part of the unsettlingness of this episode. And it was left on that note where she's, yeah, let's not keep things from each other anymore. Yeah, thumbs up. And she is. Now, what is Holden keeping from her anymore? Nothing as far as I can tell. He is very earnest about his communication between him and Naomi. Yeah. I'm sorry, Lou, can you want to
Yeah,
expand?
I think you guys got most of it. I think it was important that Holden told her that you're my anchor
Mm,
because he admitted he was going down there to kill Coutier. So he's so dead set against this protomolecule existing in any shape, manner, or form for anybody to get their hands on it. As I foreshadowed, I don't think it's a big get to say that the fact that she's holding on to protomatter and he's dead set against any protomatter is that's not leading to a good meeting of the minds down the road. And I think we've seen ever since Naomi's hid the protomatter that she's been rather prickly. She's been
mm.
off and on with her relationship with
Yeah.
Holden. She snapped at Alex about when they went aboard that ship and captured the kid, that when that was over, then she threw her rifle back at him and says, "You don't get to tell me who to kill." She's definitely going through some stuff in her head, and where that's going to lead her going forward will be, I think that you'll both be very interested to see that.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Good.
So we're left with we have Prax on the ship, and he has learned that his daughter has been taken away by this doctor who apparently is someone of note.
Yep. Has
Uh,
connections to Mao.
Mao,
Yeah, the proto.
Dr. Lawrence Strickland. And we know that he's a neurobiologist as well as a doctor. Why is he saving the kid? Is there ulterior motives there? I like that his daughter is probably still alive. I want to learn more about Strickland and what's going on there and how Prax is going to deal with that because he's been betrayed now by someone that he put absolute trust in. So I'm guessing we'll see where that goes as well. Jesse, what do you think about Strickland?
Yeah, I don't know where we're going on this. I wonder if the Rossi is just leaving and they're back to not having a home anymore. So I'm not sure where we're going to go next with this. And I'm actually a little concerned about what their mission is going to be now, except to find this. They're finding his daughter, but also to find out what's going on. Is that what their mission
Yeah,
is now? Yeah.
they're after Strickland,
Yeah.
the ship, and
Okay.
his mission is to find his daughter. So
Okay.
he's also after Strickland, but for completely different
Okay.
reasons.
Yeah.
They're trying to find out why there's protomolecule on Ganymede,
Okay.
and that's
Yeah.
Strickland. So it's Strickland still on Ganymede. I'm guessing that's where they're headed. And we also knew that there was protomolecule because of that figure that was shown in the
Hmm.
episode with Bobby. That's a tantalizing little dangle in front of us to see
Hmm.
where that goes as well. And that's where we're left.
That's right. Yep. I was going to mention the entity, but you did, so I don't have to do that anymore.
Okay.
That was all I was going
But
to add.
do you have other follow? That's the only thing?
That's the only other thing that I can think of. Yep.
Okay. And same with you, Jesse?
Yep. No, I got nothing else
Okay.
except I'm very, very excited, looking forward to where we're going.
I can't wait to see the next episode.
I agree.
Um, and whenever I lead one of these, I'm always nervous about getting everything in. So I'm glad you guys feel like I did that. So with that, We're looking forward to the next episode, which is The Weeping Somnambulist. So a
Hmm.
sleepwalker, a crying sleepwalker is essentially what it's named.
Hmm.
That's an interesting title. And with that, I'm gonna talk to you guys and see where people can find you. You can email us at jklmedia@gmail.com. Jesse, where can they find you?
So I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. I am on Blue Sky, all the other social medias. Continue to talk about John Hyatt on Perfectly Good Podcast. We're going through every John Hyatt song in alphabetical order and talking music on Set Lusting Bruce. Had some very fun episodes lately, including one with Arlen Schumer, who is a Springsteen historian and having a really fun discussion. He has an upcoming seminar that talks about Bruce Springsteen in the 70s.
Awesome. All right, Lou, let's go to you.
Okay, I'm going to rate this episode.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry, we
duh.
forgot to do that.
I'm going to give,
Yes.
since I remembered, I'm going to go first. I'm going to give this one
Yes.
eight sprouts.
Okay,
Ah, I like that.
Jesse.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to give this 8. Oh, good question.
Spacewalk.
Yeah. You're not a guest. You're a guide.
There you go. I'm gonna give it as well, 8 as well. So our average is 8. 8 gravity boots.
Nice,
Yes.
nice. And
All
with
right.
that, you can find me at this channel, of course, JKL Media Reviews. We're currently doing The Expanse. We're waiting for the return of Pluribus and Severance, and we may be doing a Hail Mary movie roof,
Project
it
Hail
sounds like,
Mary.
in the future. So we'll have to see
Yes.
about that. And on my home channel, YouTube channel, Lou's Reviews, you can find my interviews with the writers and also a Stephen King podcast where we just recently did a review of The Running Man, as well as our archived episodes of the entire Babylon series plus the animated movie. On Twitter and X, you can find me at Lou W. Sytsma, Sytsma.
Awesome. And I am at Oliveria on social media. And you can also see my blog at alliestuff.com. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to our listeners and we'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
And scene.
The proceeding has been a JKL Media production.